I have a question for you to start us off. Have you ever met the gym ghost?
The gym ghost. I feel like this is leading somewhere interesting. Is this a haunting?
It's a very specific type of person. I think we all know them. Just picture this. They have the membership card, the premium tier one.
Oh, okay.
It's right at the front of their wallet. They
Yeah.
pay the dues every single month. They've got the branded gear, the matching tracksuit, maybe the really expensive shoes that have never seen, like a single speck of dirt.
Okay, yeah, I know exactly what you mean. They have the complete aesthetic of fitness, but
Exactly. They know all the lingo. They can talk about, whey proteins or which pre-workout gives the best tingles. They have the identity of an athlete. But, and here's the twist, they never actually train. They don't sweat.
Yeah.
They don't push against resistance. They just kind of swipe the card, maybe walk on the treadmill while they're texting, and then they grab the smoothie on the way out.
it's basically fitness cosplay.
It is. And here's the thing. It all works fine for them right up until the moment reality hits. Say they have to help a friend move a heavy oak dresser up, like 3 flights of stairs, or they have to sprint to catch a bus. And all of a sudden, the tracksuit doesn't help. The card in their wallet doesn't lift any weight.
That is a brutal realization because the card gives you status, it gives you a feeling of belonging, but it doesn't give you actual strength.
And that gap between the status we project and the strength we actually have, that's exactly what we're looking at today. We're doing a deep dive into a really heavy-hitting sermon by Pastor Florin from the Unshakable series.
Yeah, this one is from Philippians chapter 3. And honestly, the pastor's research notes for this one were fascinating because they take that gym ghost idea and apply it directly to the human soul.
It's this whole concept of counterfeit confidence.
Right. We're talking about the things we rely on, to feel safe, to feel okay with ourselves, that they crumble when the pressure is really on. Pastor Florin calls it the flesh, and we should probably unpack what that actually means because it's probably not what you think.
And the goal here, looking at the material, is pretty radical.
Yeah.
It's to dismantle those crutches, that counterfeit confidence, and replace it with the only thing that actually holds any weight. So, let's get into it. Paul starts Philippians 3 with a line that, honestly, it sounds a little bit like a parent.
Uh-huh. Which line is that?
Verse 1. To write the same things to you is no trouble to me and is safe for you. It's that word safe that gets me. Like, since when is repetition safe? I usually think repetition is boring or nagging.
It does sound like nagging, doesn't it? I've told you once, I've told you 1,000 times. But if you look at the psychology behind what Paul is saying, the sermon notes highlight this idea of drift.
Drift?
Yeah, think about how we actually fail at things. We rarely wake up on a Tuesday and decide, you know what, I'm going to burn my life down today. I'm just going to abandon all my values. That's not how it happens.
No, it's always a slow fade. You skip one day, then it's 2, then a month goes by.
Exactly. It's subtle. We go on autopilot. We stop checking the coordinates. We just drift away from the truth because the current of the world is always pushing us somewhere else. So Paul is saying that repetition, hearing the gospel again, being reminded of who Jesus is again, that's the safeguard against the drift. It's like checking your compass.
So he's saying, look, I'm repeating myself because I know your attention span is short and the world is really loud.
Precisely. And this connects so well with how Agape defines apprenticeship. I noticed in the notes they make this distinction. Following Jesus isn't a university class you graduate from.
Right.
You don't just get the degree and hang it on the wall and you're done.
No, the notes lifted this cycle, and I think this is so practical for anyone trying to actually live this out. It's learn, observe, try, do, adjust, and then repeat.
It's that last word, repeat, that really matters. The second you stop repeating, you stop learning. It's like trying to learn a language. You can't just memorize a vocabulary list one time and say, okay, I'm fluent.
No, of course not.
You have to use it and mess it up and correct it and say it again every single day. Paul's basically arguing that our spiritual safety comes from being in that rhythm. It protects you from the arrogance of thinking, I've got this all figured out.
Because the moment you think, I've got this, you're the guy in the tracksuit who can't lift the couch. You've moved from relying on the training to just relying on your status.
Exactly. You're just coasting. And spiritually, coasting is always downhill.
Okay, so Paul sets the table with this really warm, kind of protective, I'm doing this for your safety vibe.
Yeah.
And then complete whiplash. Verse 2, he just says.
The tone shift is massive. It's so jarring.
He says, watch out for the dogs, those evildoers, those mutilators of the flesh. I mean, calling people dogs. For a holy letter, That feels incredibly aggressive.
It is aggressive, and we have to be careful not to read that with our modern ears where dog could be, a cute puppy.
Right.
The research notes actually reference a scholar who points out that in the Greco-Roman world, calling someone a dog was a vulgar slur.
So this isn't just, hey, you guys are annoying.
No, this is like saying, you are shameless. It probably carried some really ugly connotations. It was shock and awe language. It was meant to wake them up.
So why go that hard? Who's he so mad at?
He's attacking a group that we often call the Judaizers. And to get this, you have to picture Philippi. It was a Roman colony. Status was everything. Your citizenship was your identity. And then you have this religious pressure group coming in and saying, hey, Christians, it's cute that you like Jesus, but if you want to be real insiders, you need the physical credentials. You need circumcision.
Wow. So they were gatekeeping salvation.
They were gatekeeping based on a physical surgery. They were saying, you need this mark on your body to be in the club. And Paul uses this brutal pun here. He calls them mutilators.
Mutilators, that sounds painful.
It is. The Greek word implies, like, cutting without any purpose. So he's essentially saying, you think you're performing a holy ritual. No, you're just hacking off flesh. He completely delegitimizes their whole claim to status. He flips the script. He says, you want to know who the real insiders are? It's not the people with the surgery. It's the people with the spirit.
And he gives 3 markers for this. I love how clear these are in the notes. So marker 1, worship by the Spirit. Marker 2, boast in Christ Jesus. And marker 3, this is the big one, put no confidence in the flesh.
And that third one, that's the pivot for this whole deep dive, isn't it? Put no confidence in the flesh.
Yeah, we have to stop here and define flesh, because if I'm listening to this, I hear flesh, and I immediately think, sex, drugs, gluttony, bodily sins.
Right, that's the common assumption. But in Philippians 3, Paul's doing something much more subtle. He isn't talking about bad things. He's talking about good things that we use for the wrong purpose.
Wait, unpack that a little. How can a good thing be the flesh?
So the flesh here means human credentials. It means having a settled trust in yourself. It's anything you can point to, your heritage, your education, your morality, your religious performance, and say, I am safe because I have this.
So the gym membership card, that's the flesh.
100%. It's the external marker that gives you a false sense of security. And psychologically, this is why it's so hard to break. The sermon makes a great point here, that we build these fleshly structures because they reduce our anxiety.
Right. It feels good to know you're following the rules. It feels safe.
It feels like you're in control. If I can tick the box, I went to church, I tithed, I read my Bible, then I feel stable. I feel like a good person. It stabilizes the ego.
The notes call out 2 modern traps for this that I think are, well, they're everywhere. The first one is ritual confidence.
The institutional trap. I serve on the welcome team. I haven't missed a Sunday in 3 years. I give 10%. The underlying thought is, therefore God owes me, therefore I'm safe.
But the second one, this one hit me a little harder, intellectual confidence.
This is the trap for the smart people, right? This is the trap for podcast listeners.
Totally. I have the right theology. I know the Greek word for flesh. I win all the debates online.
It's so seductive, isn't it? Because it feels like maturity. But notice the distinction Pastor Florin draws from James chapter 2. The demons believe and shudder.
Ooh, that's a haunting verse.
Think about it. Demons have perfect theology. They know exactly who Jesus is. They probably know the Bible way better than we do, but they don't submit. So if your confidence is just, I have the correct information in my brain, you're really just a well-informed rebel. You're still relying on your intellect, your flesh, not on Christ.
So knowing the right answers isn't the same thing as trusting the person.
Exactly. One is an academic exercise. The other is a surrender. One is about you being smart. The other is about him being Lord.
And Paul, he decides to prove this point in this, almost theatrical way. He sees these people bragging about their credentials, and he basically says, oh, you want to play that game? You want to compare resumes? Fine, let's play.
He enters the comparison game, and he just clears the board.
He lists his resume in verses 4 through 6. Circumcised on the 8th day, from the tribe of Benjamin, a Hebrew of Hebrews, a Pharisee.
And to our modern ear, that just sounds like a list of random religious facts. But to his audience, this was Ivy League. This was the 30 under 30 list. This was the absolute peak of religious and cultural status.
They're saying, I was born into the right family, I went to the best schools, and I followed the rules better than any of you.
He even mentions being a zealous persecutor. We see that as this horrible negative, but in his previous life, that was a badge of honor. It meant he was so committed to the cause he was willing to fight for it. He was, in his own words, blameless under the law.
So if there was a ladder to God, Paul was standing on the top rung looking down at everybody else.
And that's the image the notes use, the ladder. The flesh always operates like a ladder. It's always comparative.
It's horizontal.
Right. The comparison game is always asking, am I higher on the ladder than him? Do I pray more than her? Is my theology more biblical than that church down the street?
And I think we all do this, even if we're not religious. Do I recycle more than my neighbor? Is my diet cleaner than theirs? Are my kids better behaved?
It's the human condition. We crave distinction. But here's the trap, and this is a key insight from the sermon. The ladder can never produce peace.
Why not?
Because there are only two outcomes on a ladder. If you look down and you see people below you, you get pride. Thank God I'm not like them. If you look up and see people above you, you get insecurity and anxiety. I'm not doing enough.
So you're either arrogant or you're anxious.
There's no third option on the ladder. You
Right.
never, ever reach a point of, I am enough. And Paul realized that. He reached the top, he had the perfect resume, and he found out it was bankrupt. It couldn't buy what he actually needed.
So then we get to this great revaluation, verses 7 through 9. Paul takes this pristine resume, this life's work, and he moves it from the asset column completely over to the liability column.
Yeah, he uses accounting language. Whatever gain I had, I counted as loss.
And he uses that one very specific word to describe his old credentials. Scubalon.
Scubalon. It's a word that translators kind of struggle with because they want to be polite. But Paul was not being polite.
Right.
It translates to rubbish, refuse, garbage. But in street Greek, it actually meant dung.
He calls his heritage, his education, his moral perfection, dung.
Compared to the surpassing worth of knowing Christ.
Right.
Yes, it's trash.
That is such a violent rejection of his old identity.
It has to be, though. Imagine you spent 30 years building a mansion. You poured every dollar you had, every hour into it. And then you realize the foundation is totally rotten and the house is actually a prison. You have to walk away. You have to declare it a loss to save your life. Paul is saying, I don't just value Jesus more. I value my self-righteousness as waste because it keeps me from him.
And this all leads to the core theological shift, right? The difference between achieved righteousness and received righteousness.
This is the gospel in two words: achieved versus received.
Achieved is the latter.
Achieved is, I earned it. It's my resume. And it's fragile because if I slip up, I lose it. Received righteousness is a gift. It comes through faith. It's Jesus's resume, credited to my account.
I like that. It's not that the standard disappears, it's that someone else met the standard for you.
Right. You aren't pretending the law doesn't matter. You're just acknowledging you can't fulfill it, but he did.
So if we burn the resume, if we step off the ladder, what are we actually doing? What's the goal then?
The goal is right there in verse 10, that I may know him.
Okay, but we have to be careful with that word know again. We just said that the demons know him.
Correct. This isn't information. The Greek idea here is experiential. It's relational. It's the difference between knowing about surgery and having the surgeon actually save your life. It's union.
The notes break this knowing down into three really interesting parts. The first is the power of his resurrection. That sounds great. I mean, who doesn't want power?
But notice the context. We usually think of resurrection as something that happens after we die. One day I'll fly away. But Paul treats it as a present-day resource. It's the power to change now, the power to overcome that temper or that addiction or that selfishness today.
Okay, I'm sold on the power. But the second one, the fellowship of his sufferings. That's a much harder sell. Come join Christianity, we have suffering.
It's not a great marketing slogan, is it? But it's so profound. Paul is saying you can't truly be intimate with Jesus if you only want the victory and you're not willing to share in the struggle.
It's about not being a fair weather friend.
Exactly. And suffering strips away all that counterfeit confidence. When things are going well, it's easy to rely on your bank account or your reputation. When you're suffering, those things just evaporate. You find out what's real, and that's where the fellowship happens. You realize he's there in the dark with you.
And the third one, conformity to his death.
Dying to the ego. The ego is what screams for recognition, for being right, for climbing the ladder. Conformity to death means letting that ego die so that the real you, the one who is defined by God, can actually live.
And this feels like it connects to that kingdom of God idea that's mentioned in the background notes. This isn't just some personal self-help plan.
No, and that's a crucial piece if we miss it. Apprenticing under Jesus is not a solo hobby. It's entering a kingdom. Matthew 6.33. Seek first the kingdom.
And we just gloss over that word kingdom so often.
We do, but the kingdom of God is a real nation. It has a specific heritage, a distinct culture. When you become a follower of Jesus, you're adopted into the family of God, into the nation of God.
That changes the whole vibe of the training. If I'm trying to earn my spot on the team, I'm always anxious. But if I'm already on the team because I've been adopted into the nation, I train differently.
Exactly. You train out of gratitude, not fear. You aren't striving to get in. You're striving because you are already in. Paul says he presses on to attain the resurrection, not because he's unsure if he's saved, but because the Christian life is a forward motion. It's active. It's that apprenticeship cycle all over again. Learn, do, repeat.
So as we kind of land this plane, I want to go back to that image of the ladder. The sermon ends with a pretty stark application. Burn the ladder.
It's something every single listener needs to visualize. We all have a ladder. For some listening right now, it's the performance ladder. I need to do more to matter.
For others, it's the knowledge ladder. I need to be smarter than everyone else to feel safe.
Or the moral superiority ladder. Well, at least I'm not like those political opponents or those sinners over there.
We use comparison like a drug to numb our own insecurity.
We do. And the antidote is to stop looking sideways at other people and to start looking up at Christ.
Pastor Florin asks a question at the end that I think is the perfect summary of this whole deep dive. He asks, when you stand before Jesus, will you hold up a resume or will you simply know him?
That's it. That is the whole ball game right there. A resume is just a piece of paper. You can't have a relationship with a resume. You can't hug a resume.
And like that gym card, a resume can't lift the weight of eternity.
It really can't.
I want to leave everyone with a thought experiment to carry into the week. It's a little intense, but stay with me. Imagine for a second that you are stripped of every religious habit you have. No church attendance, no titles, no serving roles.
So all the external props are gone.
Gone. Imagine you lost every theological debate you ever won. Imagine your reputation for being a good person or a smart person just vanished overnight. You were standing there with completely empty hands.
Naked before God, essentially.
Yeah. What would be left of your confidence? If the answer is nothing, then your confidence was in the flesh. It was in the gym card. But if the answer is Christ, then you are safe because he is the one thing that can never be stripped away.
And that is the definition of unshakable.
This has been a heavy one, but a really necessary one.
Absolutely. Repetition is safe.
If you want to dig deeper into this, and we really suggest you do because we just skimmed the surface, go check out the full sermon, Knowing Christ Above All, by Pastor Florin. You can find the video and the full notes on the Agape Community Church YouTube channel. It's still a work in progress, but it's getting better every week.
Don't just take our word for it. Go right to the source.
Thanks for diving in with us. We'll see you next time.